Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Shangs, and to just first of all, just a disclaimer, I didn't wrote that bio on ChatGPT. I wrote it on myself. But thanks again. I know that it has been, I hope it has been a good and busy 2 days for some of you. Some of you probably just show up today, and I appreciate you, you come here and attend this session. So the goal is actually, hopefully you can walk away with something tangible, something that you can bring back and using for your own project, your own events. So the funny thing is, last year, around the same time, actually around May, I got brought into a project. It's the annual association trade show regionally. They always struggle with registration, especially after pandemic. And it's already very late. They haven't done anything, and the conference is in less than 6 months. And so I got brought in, and obviously start working with them. It was a great group of volunteers. They're all very busy at their job, but they're passionate about their profession and this conference. Fast forward 2 weeks before the conference, me and the client sit down and we had an emergency meeting because we sold out. Just legit that we cannot take anymore because we didn't book enough bigger enough venue, and we need to force to close the registration. And we keep receiving message, because for some of you who plan association meeting, especially in the recent year, you know most of the registration come in the last 3 weeks. And so we keep getting messages, hey, I forgot to register. And then so we need to put them on wait list. We have a wait list for about almost 100+ people on the wait list. And at the end, we cannot take anyone. And obviously, they start taking the route of, I'm friend with the, with the chair. I'm the old standing member. I'm the previous board member, all the different route. And but we can, right? And so that's kind of actually inspired me for this session is like, I personally was very surprised when I sold out. And so I look back and see, okay, so what are the things that we did right that potentially leading to this result? And what are the things that we tried, but with not much success? And I would still like to share those because I think those are still very important because it might work for you. So basically, I will say, and then I will hoping and assuming you are here because, number one, revenue from registration is important for you. Like if you're a corporate planner that you had a set budget, you don't even need to worry about who's coming, this is probably not as relevant or needed for you. But if you're like me, who I work with the clients who they're depending on the registration revenue to pay their hotel bill, then you might be in the right place. You're here also because your team is small or is heavily volunteer-based. Maybe you're working for an association who are smaller, who you are probably the only full-time staff, or you're working for a company that your client are organization, nonprofit, who are heavily volunteer-based. They all love what they do, and they have passion about the chapter or the association they with. But this is not their job, and they don't have time to implement all the amazing event strategy that you probably heard for the past 2 days. And last thing is, if you are seeing this at your own project, that you see dropping registration, or you experience last-minute search, raise your hand if you experienced one of those last year for your program. Whether it's like, oh my God, thank you. Oh my God, who are you? Like, where are you? Why you don't register? Usually early bird will concur around 45 to almost half the registration target, or even 60%, right? What we see last year, a lot of the project is, if you're lucky, you got 35%, and that is early bird. And I had another project last year, which is a week before the show, I had another emergency meeting. There's a lot of emergency happening. I had another emergency meeting with a client, and where I am preparing her that their event is going to be in a profit loss because we don't have enough people register. The sponsor dollar was nah, and so you're gonna lose some money. And we're trying to figure out how to do it in a like 3 days before the show opened. in 3 days, past the weekend, the show opened, and then the first thing I saw the client is, so just so you know, it's a great thing, but you are making money now. We had legitimately like 30% registration coming in the last 3 days before the show opened. And obviously, there's many different reasons for that, but it's no. So all of those leading to what this session is about is like, the thing that I did work, but most importantly, the thing I did didn't work. And then there are a few things that I would really like to try, but I haven't. And so I'm very hoping that this is, I mean, obviously this is more a session, but if you have any question or if you actually try something before and you are willing to share, we do have a microphone in the middle. I'm going to try to make this session as engaging, interactive as much as I can. But because of cautions of the virtual audience who also watching it, it's going to be a bit more I'm talking, but hopefully we still have some Q&A happening. So let's jump in writing. This is the reason everyone's here, right? Like, what is the formula for sold-out events? Anyone want to guess? It's maybe because the, like, what do you think? What is formula? Yeah. I don't know, that's why you're here. Anyone want to take a guess? Maybe it's a discount rate. Yeah? Book a small venue. That is very strategic, smart. Anyone else? Yes.
I noticed that if there's some sort of exclusivity around the event, it kind of hypes up the event more, and just in general, people kind of have that FOMO. So if you create FOMO, and especially something that people attend to, it kind of triggers them.
That is a great one as well, FOMO. If your event create FOMO, that trigger people want to be part of it. Or you offer a VIP exclusive offer that you can only get at your events, right? I mean, for anyone here is association or work for association or work with association client, like, seems like not much. For some of the association is, accreditation, right? You need to come to my event in order to get a credit, so you can certify. This specifically happening for lots of doctor. All a great reason, but what I find out the real answer is this: the formula for sold-out event is luck. Because you can do everything right, that just don't pick up. Or you can do everything wrong, but suddenly it happened, right? But I do know the formula for declining event is repeat last year. Because even you are very successful this year, if you just repeat, you would not very likely you will not get the same result. And that's kind of why we are here, right? Like, we want to do something a little bit different for your own challenge this year. So I will say for this presentation, the goal for us together is we want to increase the sold-out. You're not gonna get a bullet point formula of I'm do this, then I'm going to sold out. It's not gonna happen. But maybe if you do this, you can increase the potential that leading into a sold-out result. So when I approaching this, there's usually a few ways that I look at it. So the first thing is, I think it's very important is to take a step back and ask the obvious questions. And then what I will asking that question with you guys throughout the presentation. And secondly is I'm gonna introduce some tactics, and I'm gonna ask, have you tried this before? Some of the things that I did, and then some of that have mixed result, but some of them is some of the tactics is what I thought the other events are doing, and I'm curious it might work for you. And the last thing is during the presentation, I also had a few different things that probably also pressing in your mind is I want to know your thoughts on. So those are some of the traditional event marketing tactics that you usually would do, or the strategy you usually would do, but they might not work anymore because the landscape's changing. So this is basically how the presentation today is going to be around. So the first things we're gonna start with, who cares about our events? Like, have you actually asked that question before you actually started? Is who think this event is important for them? Who have stake if they didn't come to your event? Or who have the power of putting the plug of the success or failure of these events? So what I usually do is for almost every project right now, I like to run an exercise called stakeholder alignment. And it's a very simple exercise. You're starting with this. From the left, you're creating a long list of your stakeholder, which is basically a simple question. It can be just you, or this is usually really good with the whole team. It's brainstorming on who has stake at this event. And this is sticky notes, and you just go through it. And that can be attendee, very obvious, right? You can dive a little bit deeper what type of attendee they are. It can be your sponsor, you can exhibitor. It can be your boss. It can be your board member. It can be the media, it can be the volunteer, it can be the student, it can be the vendor, it can be the venue at the hotel, it can be the AV technician, because they all have something to do with your events. And the next is the whole thing is moving those sticker notes one by one into the middle, which you're gonna, in a discussion way to define which category they are, how many interesting they have, and how many power they have. For example, in most of the case, students usually have very high interest to your event. They would like to come, they want to meet people, they want to find their future job, but they have less power to influence your event because their registration usually is cheaper, usually is more free. So if they don't come, your event probably not make or break it, right? So a lot of the time, student is kind of in the need to be involved stage, which is like they're not your core target, but because they really like you, so you want to involve them, and suddenly they can maybe help you to push the marketing. On the other hand, AV technician, for example, they probably have less interest in what you are talking about, right? It's like they have this every day and they do this every day, but somehow they hold some power, right? If they walk away right now, then, so what you will do, right? So let's give AV Tech a round of applause. Thank you very much to be here. So what you would do is you will satisfy them, right? You pay them, and you also treat them with respect, right? So by doing this, it's actually a really good exercise to unite the whole team to agree on what is the most important things, who are the most important thing, and then you move them into the right column, which is who are the priority. If we need to design this event from the scratch, who should we focusing on? Like what you want to do is you want people who have high interest of your event, but also high power that make or break of your event. Very simple, it is your attendee, your sponsor, your boss, right? But sometimes it might be something very different and very surprising. Here are some examples. So I did actually this exercise for 2 different projects. And as you can see, just roughly from the photo, the first one, which is from the left one, there is a lot of the stakeholder are actually at the need to be involved stage, but hold less power. And so this is a project, it's a grand opening for a community center. And so suddenly you will find out is everyone is interesting, right? Like every different community, all the student, all the school, the politician, everyone is exciting. But a lot of them actually don't hold much power whether make or break to these events. And then therefore they identify, all right, it's actually someone who, who hold the biggest one is, the city, and then the person who probably potentially were using the venue for other events, so their client. And on the other hand, actually the other 2 photos showing is another grand opening for a convention center. And then what you find out is there's a lot of people they need to satisfy. It's a project in Taiwan, and there's a lot of the interesting group involved, so politician, media, and it's in the election year. So there's a lot of the people who you somehow need to satisfy them. But again, they don't need to be delighted. There's only a few certain level of people that need to be delighted. So this is a really good exercise, especially if you're working for a committee. My experience is when you're working with a committee, everyone usually have their own agenda. And they have things that they think are important. If you don't talk about it at the beginning, you usually will run into issue later on that you lose focus. Everyone thinks their things are the most important, and that is one of the big things for event marketing is you want to be focused. You want to make sure your message is consistent rather than like loose and trying to do a lot of different things. The next question is, do we actually know who came to our event? You might actually say like, oh, of course I know, it's the, the people who always come, they are the doctor, they are the profession engineering, or, oh, they are my client, right? They always come to my events. They're my member, they're the non-member, right? But do we really know who they are? One exercise I think a lot of you probably already do, we saw this at corporate world a lot, not really actually in nonprofit and association world, is building attendee persona. This is the example from Visible a couple years ago, is you can build attendee persona, and it's, try to stand on their shoes, try to think who they are, building a fictional character, and by doing this, you suddenly understand them a little bit more. Which social media this group usually on, what age they are, what is the thing they like about, and a lot of the things you even want to dive into the conversation of where they get most of their news coming from. Is it on Instagram? Is it email? Is it TV? Or what is the biggest challenge they are facing, right? Are they actually stay-home mom, that working parents who actually is thinking about, I need to go pick up my kids? Or most of them are actually single and they like to explore and enjoy their life, right? So like a lot of the different persona, when you're starting doing this, then some of the insight will coming out. A very simple exercise that for some of you who probably heard, some of you who don't, is called empathy map. Empathy map, again, is a very cool tool that you can simply use to build that persona for you. Starting basically, you can simply just Google empathy map and you just follow the step of how other people are doing. Basically, it's to walk you through the process of 5 sense of emotion of people. What is this people seeing? What is this people doing? What is this people heard at the moment? What is this people say at the moment? What type of dress code this person usually look and feel like? And then like the key thing is in the middle is what do they think and feel? What are the things that bother them? What are the things that make them happy? Because if you build that, what will happen is, if you build that, what will happen is your group will understand them a little bit more. And then you are able to provide a better messaging for them to attract them to come to your events. So here are some tactics that curious to see if you guys have using them. So first is convince your boss. Anyone actually do that for your events? If you're doing trade show, here we go. What's your experience with it? Do you find anyone using it? Here and there. So convince your boss is an interesting tactic. So we do that for our events as well. For those who don't know, is basically you create a template. Usually it's a Word document that you encourage attendee to use that they can write into your boss. So the boss will allow them to take a day off to your events, or the company will pay for it. Right, and it's a simple thing to do, and I think it's a nice thing, especially if you are a more professional setting events. What I find that is not yet very effective of this tactic is we have no way to know if it works. So maybe, the thing that I'm doing right now is for this year, for the same conference, we're going to do the letter, but we're actually going to include it in the letter with a special registration code. So we're gonna start tracking it, which is, you can convince your boss, and we're gonna tell you, when you tell your boss, I should come to this event because of reason ABC, also, the organizer gave me like a 10% off as appreciation of the company willing to invest me to your conference. So I'm gonna start using that to track them. There's another thing I have in mind, but I don't know if we'll be able to do it, which is even further, is open up an option for the people who download the Convince Your Boss letter, say if they want a customized help, which is we're gonna have them jump on a call with us for 5-10 minutes. Simply tell us how can we help them to convince their boss. Because sometimes it's actually as simple as the organizer call the boss and say, Mary from your team actually want to come to this event, and we believe this event is very good for her and for you, for the company. Would you be willing to let Mary to come? Sometimes is maybe because, and so when you have that touch point, it gives you the ability to dive in a little bit deeper on why they need to convince their boss. You can see like different companies a little bit different. Sometimes it's, oh, because I really depend on the money the company gonna pay for me. Sometimes it's actually the day off, right? Like in different companies looking for different things. So don't just do convince your boss letter. It's easy to do. Try to see if you can do a little bit more to really make it impactful. Another thing is, this is what I saw, and not sure if anyone doing this, is to create a remaining ticket progress bar. So this is an event I found online called Top Dog Summit. So what I did is, as you can see at the bottom, is they have only 22 seats left. And you can continue to update it, or that can, to be fair, that can be a fake number, right? So what I actually planning to do this year is I'm gonna have that, but it's going to be manually up. So I don't want it to be like the real number. So what I will probably do is a month out to the actual events, if I haven't sold out, I will see how many remaining tickets I have, but then I will remove all the ticket I know is coming. And then I will say this is what the remaining ticket left, right? So like something that you can simply do even without any tech background. And I think this is something I think quite effective. And this will be something especially when you're pushing for those discount tickets early on. Or if you're running like a special promotion. So for example, last year for one of the conferences, it's the association conference. And so the association had birthday, right? So the association was formed, I believe, in September 18 or something. So what we did, we did a happy birthday promotion. And then the association, I think, is approached 44-year anniversary, which is very special. And we say we only have 44 special ticket for this promotion. And they got a specific, like a significant discount of it. And then we're using social media to pumping out like, all right, you only have 3 more days left, and we only have 12 special promo ticket left, so grab it before it's too late. So it's coming to the FOMO and coming to the urgentness of the tactics. So something to consider and something to try. So let's take a quick pause and talk about email campaign. Like, who did email when they market their events? Like literally everyone, right? Who had trouble of seeing a good open rate and success rate? Right, because here and there, right? How many of you actually segmentate your email? Perfect. So the lady in the purple shows, what's your name, ma'am? Katie. So how do you segmentate your email? Send to your email list. Okay. Thank you.
And I do it generally by area of the country.
The area of the country,
Yeah,
okay.
I know, I know East Coast, South, and West.
And what's the reason you do that?
For my Zoom classes,
Okay.
I've met most of these people. I used to teach all over the country. I want to know where they're coming from.
You want to know where they're coming from.
Right, right.
Got it.
And where certain campaigns work best for certain audiences. So I send different emails to different locations.
Got it. Thank you for sharing.
I test them.
You testing. So that is one thing I think a lot of us didn't do is actually A/B testing it. And I think it's very important actually when you do email marketing is A/B testing. Is this message work or this message don't work? But when it comes to segmentation, have any of you actually do a simple segmentation of people register and people haven't registered, right? And what do you find? Like, why you do that? The lady with the jean jacket.
Thanks. I do that for a ton of different reasons, but I would say mainly, obviously, different communication to register than didn't register. Like, if they already registered, it's more like you registered, why don't you bring a friend, or here's a discount code for a friend, something like that. Versus if you haven't registered, it's more promotional. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, and then that sounds simple, right? But I bet someone in this room haven't done that before. Because it's actually very normal. You simply just, I had a mailing list. I'm gonna just mail the same message, over and over again. But that simple divider of the list, then because if they already register, they don't need to be convinced anymore, but they might need other information, right? They might need to be exciting of their coming. They might need to be remind they're coming. They might need to you might want to give them reason to invite their friends. It's very different than those who haven't registered, because that means you haven't convinced them. And for someone who, if you have time or if you want to do it, you can even do further, right? Like for those who haven't registered, did they open the email or not, right? Because if they open the email, that means they saw the message and they may be thinking about it. So why they haven't registered, right? So maybe their follow-up email is, hey, I saw your email. I saw you open the email. Don't forget, here is the early bird that is approaching. And it can be very different than the one who just haven't opened the email. And then for those who just haven't opened the email yet, that might be a discussion why they haven't. I also will be curious about what your approach on your email campaign is. Is anyone starting to only send out plain text email? So that's yes. And would you like to share why?
It is so much more personal. It seems like it's coming from a person and not a bot or ChatGPT.
Exactly, because that's what I think happened a lot is a lot of because the reality is we all got bombarded by emails. Like how many junk email is in our inbox, right, every day. And a lot of the company actually automatically block any email that look like a spam or look like a promotional email. So when you spend all the time and crafting a beautiful graphic, different divide of your email campaign, that email might be identified as a spam email. So you would just never hit the inbox. So something to thinking about it, maybe don't go extreme of only do plain email, but maybe you can still do the same thing you do, but maybe like the third follow-up email, change the topic. And also like there's another topic that another tactic that I saw quite often is subject line. So it's very easy, we're using the subject line is early bird is approaching, register today, don't be too late. Those are like a very normal registration email. But have you tried something different? For example, that can be, do you know who's coming? Do you know, like, I can't believe this, right? Something that you are like, oh, what's going on? So they open, then the message come across, right? So I think for email campaign is have some fun with it, but actually also understand actually have some fun with it, but at the same time, you draft your email to the way you will open it. So when you finish your promotional email, take a step back and think about if you're receiving it, would you open it? If you open it, would you go through it? If you go through it, would you click the CTA, which is the registration button you want people to do? Because if at any stage of that review process that you are hesitant or your college is hesitant, this is actually a really good exercise to send to your college, right? Just let them take a look for you. Then because what you want is you want to create every possible moment that people open it, so then they can potentially be convinced. So the next question is also very simple, right? What will influence people to register for our events? We kind of talked about that earlier, the FOMO, the speaker, the discount, the credit, the experience, the lucky draw, right? There's all the different reasons. But what I find is this exercise is also very helpful for me to do it. So what I find the key things to influence people to come to your event is you are able to ask another question, which is, what is the behavior change that people want when they come to your events? So very often is, before we come to your events, there's something in your mind, right? Maybe you are challenging, so there's a reason for you to come to Northwest Event Show, right? Maybe you want to check out the vendor, maybe because you are a wedding planner you need new ideas, maybe you are a corporate planner, maybe you just had a, you don't want to go into the office today, and this is a good excuse to, don't go to the office. That is legit, right? So what you want is, once you have that thought, thinking about it, what you want is your event is that vehicle. When that person finished their event, that person left your events, they got what they want, right? They want to get a list of vendor they can call tomorrow because they have project or events can use them. They are, or because they got some inspiration, hopefully today from this session that they can use. Or they simply just had a good times, and actually after this session they can go home, so no traffic. Right, so something that you can offer them, and Event Canva, you can scan this QR code. That I'm not work for them, but I did went through the proper training of this methodology, and I personally find it's very helpful. It's a good process to help you to identify that question: is what are the reason, what are the behavior changing people are looking for. And so just give you an example, this is for one of the projects that I did, is I using the project to identify a trade show. So it's a trade show that we identify people come to this trade show because of they want to learn, they want to get new ideas, and they want to meet some of the vendors they haven't met before. And then also one very important thing, they want to feel they belong. They want to feel this is my people, this is my community. And so we then basically focus all our marketing message toward these three things. This is what you can learn. This is the vendor. And then, for example, surprising enough, that show in the past never tell people who is the vendor before they show up. So, we do a very simple thing. Is we send people an email and say, here are all the confirmed vendor. Hope to see you there. That helped a lot. And then also we keep emphasize on a message is, this is your show. This is your community. Come hug and come to showcase what it means to be this profession, right? So we're kind of using this practice to be able to identify some of the key things that will help when we draft the messaging. This is another resource I find is very useful and very interesting. So value graphic is a concept developed by a psychologist and a sales trainer. His name is David Allison. For some of you who might have heard of him, he speaks at a lot of the industry events this day. He had this concept of value graphic, which he believed traditionally we really rely on the data of demographic, right? Your age, your gender, but demographic is just the statics, right? They mean something, but being a female in reality didn't make your decision different than a male. That's what his theory is. And what he believes is what make the decision of you is what's the value of you. What is the thing that you really care? Are you care about be surrounded with the people you love? Or are you care about solving something that really matter to you, right? So, or are you an adventurer? So if you scan a QR code, that will just lead to an Amazon page that you can get the book. He also developed a very cool thing. If you Google the value graphic belonging index, you'll lead to this. This is still a very experiential index, which is he partnered with another research firm in New York. They developed this index. You can simply enter where are the regions, so Americas, Asia, and then what are the professional industry that you want to know. And what you will come out is it will give you three things that based on the research they have, this has the three value this professional looking for. So the example I have here is one of my clients is, so they are they are interior designer in North America. So what I choose is North America's and basically, I believe, engineering and architecture, because they're architecture. So what it comes down is very interesting. Again, that helped me to craft the message, because those are the people who they want to feel belong, they want to feel their voice be heard, and they want to feel associated with the things, right? So I think this is another very helpful tool that you can potentially use. All right, so here are some practical tactics. Influencer, peer-to-peer, word of mouth. Anyone of using that? Right? Encourage your speaker to do it, encourage your sponsor to promote it, encourage your attendee to do it. Anyone actually using a proper technology to help you with that? So like Ingo, which one you use, may I ask?
We're actually trying peer-to-peer through
crowd change. And do you like it?
We tried it last year for the first time. It didn't really take off because we found that people, especially people in our sector with the nonprofit, aren't like used to using that kind of
Fair.
technology. So we're trying it again this year with more advertising.
Got it. So, so just for those video who didn't capture, who on the virtual didn't capture, she said crowd change, and the results a little mixed, right? Because I think it's just adapted to the technology. It's a challenge. I didn't use any of them because none of my client had the budget for it. So you simply just need to create yourself. And it's not as effective as using an automated influencer marketing platform just because it's not automated, but you still can have the same effect, right? Like you can still creating those. The key thing is to make it simple. You should make it as simple as they don't need to do anything else. So that's kind of what I did for the sponsor for this show is I sent all the conference sponsor an email. But that email is actually the draft that already draft for them, like they can send to their client to invite their client to our show. And basically the email to them is like, hey, so thank you for coming, and we'd like you to invite your client to come to the show. And so here is the already create email template. You can just forward this email, taking out the front, customize to your own message, and send to your client. And we create, and obviously you create the graphic, which is encourage them to share on social or send that to their own contact. So don't forget to leverage your speaker, your sponsor, and your attendee to help you to promote them. This is something that I am actually thinking about doing this year, but I haven't done. So I'm curious if anyone done this before. Please raise your hand. We'll 100% like to hear you. Is to promise to give people refund. So we attending a show. Usually we get the disclosure is non-refundable. If you register, if you don't like it, sorry about it. But what I'm thinking is like, well, if I'm able to do this, it's basically, especially if this is a conference or trade show education purpose, you come here for a specific reason. If I'm able to match that reason, you should be able to, like it should satisfy you with the money you pay, right? So if you are not satisfied, that means something was wrong. So need to think about how exactly this is gonna work, but the conference I'm gonna do is actually a show that attendee don't need to pay too much. I'm very realistic. If this is a normal show for a couple $100, probably not. But I had a show that attendee only need to pay $10, $20. And because it's solely rely on the exhibitor, the sponsor. So I'm thinking actually for that show for the attendee is, if you're not happy, I'm gonna give you a $20 back. It's not gonna hurt my bank too much. But I'm going to ask you to tell me why you don't like it. So I think this is in my mind, this might be a better way to collect the feedback of the real feedback, especially for those who are unsatisfied. And because they need to get their money back, so maybe they'll tell you the truth. And another thing is also nothing so much, but we see this at all the e-commerce site right now, right? How about some new way to pay, right? Have you tried payment plan? Have you tried register now and pay later? Because the goal is to get them in the door first, as long as you are able to make sure they pay later. I think this is specifically maybe something worth to try if you are nonprofit or if you have a large student attendee. Because for a lot of students, it might be very hard for them to give you $300, $500, $800 right away. But they might be okay to give you, $50 every month for a 6 months phrase. Right, so thinking about like something like that, it might also, you can tie with if it's small business, then it might good to tie with the tax cycle, right? Like if you can somehow, how about you register right now, but you don't need to pay too much. You pay like 10% deposit, but when I know you have a big cash flow coming in, that is the time that I'm gonna target that you're gonna pay in full because you probably will be able to, right? Something like a little bit different that will help you to convince people, because otherwise a lot of people, they will stop, right? They will say, that is $600, I'm gonna think about it, and then they might forget about it. Another thing is group registration and bleachers. They're kind of like two different things, and I'm sure some of you actually do. For the show I did that went so well, I will actually say, I mean, luck is one, but one big reason is actually group registration, which we didn't anticipate. Is we go out and have conversation with different companies, and then we basically design custom package for all those companies. They're all kind of the same, but look custom to them. They'll get a special discount, and then they register their team because it is a professional conference. People actually send their whole team and come here to learn. So for your group, that might be a different approach, but you might be able to still doing it. Or it can be an incentive, right? If you can get like a certain percentage of discount if you buy more than 10 tickets, right? Or it can be, marketing to be a team offsite. So for example, you go to the company and say, how about you come register with us? But what I will do is I will give you a free meeting room throughout the show. So that meeting room can be used for, your team strategy meeting, your team. You have your own lunch for your company. It's a really good way, especially to offer last minutes when you know you have so many rooms that you're not gonna use, but you're already on contract, you can't get them back. And then you make people feel so good and feel so special. Another thing is extending family trip, right? Especially for some of them, especially this is kind of the latest travel trend for business travel is they like to extend the travel. They like to bring their family with them for a lot of them, especially into exciting new destination. So how about thinking about combine that with your registration, right? The whole goal is to create different reasons for them to actually want to register. My next question is, how simple is your registration page? How many of you actually have like, I don't know, like 20 questions that you need to go through? Are you a member, are you a non-member? What's your dietary? I always fascinated about this, but it's all the registration doing it is, what is your dietary request? Like, you haven't come, why do I need to know? And so many times is you do that, and then you got an email 2 days before the show is, oh, I'm sorry, I registered for my boss, so this is actually his dietary request. And so you create some unnecessary work at the registration process, right? I don't know if any of you actually follow one of the industry experts, Julius Salas. He is a very smart guy in the industry. He actually just posted this on LinkedIn a couple of days ago. It's about registration. I think in today's DNA, because of the attention span is so short, we want to make our registration as simple as possible. A lot of the questions you don't really need to ask right at the moment, right? Which session you want to go? What's the reason you want to attend? You can ask those questions when they already register, because that is another reason actually for you to do, because I don't know how many of you actually struggle with when you segment your email, because it's very simple for the email list to the people who haven't registered is go register, right? That is all the message. But for those who already register, how can you keep them engaged, right? Like the thing we do right now is, here is the schedule of the program. Check out the sponsor. But those are, but again, back to what we discussed earlier is, if you are the attendee, would you open that email? Probably not. Like, I don't check, I'm a really bad example, but I think a lot of people like me, is I don't check agenda until I'm on the plane. I don't download the app until I'm in the building. So you can tell me the agenda is live, doesn't really matter for me. But how about you actually change your email to those who register is, hey, tell me about why you want to register. And you give them 3 simple questions that you need to ask. Because that's a little engagement, right? And that means something for me. Or a week before, you ask them an email is you tell them, and this actually is one thing I'm going to do this year for one of my shows. I had a conference, and we had a separate ticket for dinner. So we always need to ask for, dietary requirement, blah, blah, blah. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to ask people, I'm actually going to tell people is, this is the menu of this 3-course dinner. If you have any dietary needs, please email me back. Right? So I'm going to ask that question right there and not right at the beginning. I'm gonna keep it very fast now. I know I only have 10 minutes. So next question is, how can we reach and connect with our audience? Have we really think about that? Traditionally, we're thinking about like, oh yeah, because they're our member. They are in this industry, so we should be able to reach them. But that is not really the case this day, right? So here is a very powerful tool I personally really like. It's the same question, but you actually approach it differently. It's called Ladder of Belonging. It's developed by a researcher in New York. You scan the QR code, that will take you to a white paper. They developed this with Google. And basically what happened is, their theory is, there's different reasons people register and come to your event. The end goal is the same. They all want to feel belong. They all want to feel I'm part of this group. But the journey leading to that belonging is very different. And if you're able to identify what are the journey make the most sense for your audience, that is what your registration marketing should be. Here's the example. So for the conference, I think for that conference particular, we identify 2 journey is important. One is people want a pathway for intention. They come here, they come to this conference because they have a purpose. They want to learn a specific thing, and then they want to walk away with that answer. And then we have another journey is love and appreciation. Those are the people who come to this event because they feel love. And so what you do is you actually layer that with your typical event roadmap. You got the journey, and you layer it down with your typical event roadmap. And then so for example, for the love and appreciation, if you do that very clearly is you know when you're promoting the event, they need to get a personal invitation because they want to feel seen, they want to feel love. And when they're at the event, they want to feel welcome. They want the people coming approach them really warmly. They want to be mentioned on stage. But for the next one, for the purposeful, you know, the promotion is actually asking a question. Are you worried about this? Do you want to learn about this? And then for them, actually, the post-event is really important because you want to do the evaluation. Do you actually learn that? Right? So with this tool, it really helps you to design the event, but also help a lot, especially on the marketing side. Quickly talk about social media. Social media is not as effective as it used to be anymore. Just have that in mind. So for a lot of you who spend so much time on social media, I would actually recommend you probably don't need to. I will, though, recommend you thinking about putting a little money into pay advertising on social media. Not because they will help you drive registration, but they can help you to reach to the audience in a broader way that you probably haven't thought about it. You know, don't put too much money on it. Put small money on it, like $200, $300. If it worked, then you put more. But the goal should be very simple. It will help me to reach to people who I haven't able to reach. Have you tried this tactic? Sponsor a college and student. So this is something is when people register at the end, you ask them, would you like to spend a little bit more money, and we're gonna put that money into a pool. And then that is basically the fund for those who are not able to come. This will be really good tactic for if it's a student-driven event, but it's also really good tactic for the industry that got hit a lot by the economy. Because you know a lot of your traditional audience are not able to pay the full price anymore for whatever reason, but this is also a good thing to do. And then also another thing is, I don't know how many of you is reaching to the alumni, is you graduate from this school, how about you invite other alumni? So make it to be a reunion, right? Create different reasons for people to come to your events. The magic rule of 3, I think this is very normal for a lot of the tech conference, but haven't really been seen for many traditional association or traditional meeting. But it's really, if you can simplify your pricing to 3, usually people pick the middle one. Not the most expensive one and not the most cheaper one. Very interesting. And show how much you save. And this is a good example is when you tell people early bird is the cheapest, how cheap? Right? You want to actually let people to see it. You save $500, you save thousands of dollars, and you create a good graphic. And again, you don't need too much designing skill to create that. You can do that simply on PowerPoint. The next question is why us? That's kind of usually the last question is why people come to your events. Like why? Why they come to you, not the other? And this is the practice I personally really like. Again, this is not from me. This is from a professor called April Dunfield. She developed this framework called positioning. It's very simple. Basically, is the first is you identify who is your competitor, or who are the alternative options if they don't come to you. And then based on that, you're kind of looking at, so what are the differential value you offer those competitors don't offer? And then you position yourself solely on that, because this is why people choose you and not other people. This is just some simple template you can do, so write them down. I always recommend to including one non-event related competitor. So usually that's Google or YouTube, right? Like people can learn on YouTube. They don't need to come to your event. So how can you make it different and make people want to leave home to you? And then you find out the unique kind of the attributes that you offer, and then what that means for your attendee, right? What's the value that means for your attendee? And then you create the things, and then you create the action to support that. Here are some tactics. So tier pricing is something that I saw many times, especially from inbound. I just haven't tried it. So instead of early bird, is you do tier pricing. The beauty for tier pricing is it still create that differential effect of the discount and get cheaper rate, but it didn't have a deadline tied to it. The deadline is whatever you want to say. You can say tier 1 is finished tomorrow, and then you jump into tier 2. Or you can keep the tier 2 forever until the day before, right? You have the option to do it. Inbound have been doing that for actually quite a long time. Something to think about in the next time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a video that I personally really like, and I think it's a really good way to kind of wrap it up. Is I saw this video, and then I tell the owner I'm gonna tell my videographer, this is the video I want for my post.
Money is the most universal, powerful language we have today.
For me, Money 2020 is all about connection.
Throw yourself in there because this is your crowd.
I've lost count of how many times I've been here.
I knew I had to be here again.
The Money 2020 magic is about to happen.
The second that you step onto the show floor, you just have such an electric atmosphere.
Feels even bigger.
Within the first hour, I met lots of people that I was hoping to bump into.
That concentration of the industry.
They get all of the energy of our ecosystem, get to network so intensively together.
Wild what you can do in 24 hours, huh?
We're all mic'd up.
All good.
The caliber of speakers this year is off the charts.
Let machines do the ordinary and let the humans do the extraordinary.
We need to think payments differently.
I'm really passionate about how technology can be used to democratize access.
You're not selling people on details, you're selling them on the dream.
I really enjoy being able to have a true conversation and debate.
If you're not here, where are you?
It is the event.
This is more than a conference, it's more than a show, it's a community.
There is no way I could have missed it. I really look forward to doing it again next year.
This is what the promotion video should be. This is your highlight video. If you think about it, it basically hit all the things that we talk about, different message, all leading to the same goal. I'm gonna skip the resource part. I'm gonna share the presentation with you later so you can have it. That basically show a few different tools that I use. But this is kind of wrap up, right? Is you ask the obvious question, but try to understand your audience differently. And then for those tactics we just talked about, go try it. Deploy them, test them, track them, and repeat if they work. And I think the last is for the resources, don't forget to use the tool but not be used by the tool, especially that is for AI specifically. I want to leave the presentation with one positive note. So this is from Freeman, that they did a research paper a couple months ago for Q1. And the research showed that people are expecting to attend more events this year. So if you're doing event this year, you should be happy, it's optimistic. But it is up to you to crafting the formula that works for you. And maybe it's a good time right now to thinking about how can you be so important for your audience that they will come to you. So thanks again for coming, and I know at the end we're kind of rushing this through. If you want to download the presentation, you can scan this QR code. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, you can scan the second QR code. On the QR code is basically lead you to a really quick survey page that just wants to hear some feedback from you, and then you can download the presentation. I'm also going to try to do something different here, which is if you are interested, I would like to gather a small group of people, probably like 10, 20 people only, and then we're gonna meet hopefully every month on Zoom. And we're just gonna share our own tactic, and hopefully we can help each other to craft our own SOAR formula. My goal is actually this year, I want to collect as many possible case of many SOAR events. So I can actually, next time if I do this, I can tell it's not just me, it's a collective of research from many different people. It's not another Slack group, don't worry about it. It's not a paid community, don't worry about it. It's really simply just, I would like to see if you're interested that we can help each other. I have 4 programs this year. I want them to all be sold out, and I'm sure you are the same. So if you're interested, just leave a comment on the form. And otherwise, thank you so much. I'm gonna stay for a little bit if you have any question. Thank you for so much. Have a good rest of the day. Thank you.